let's jump right in. You want the key info on the Army's readiness focus, minus the jargon and endless pages, right?
Exactly. We all want to get straight to the point.
So we've been digging into an official U.S. Army piece from April 1st, 2025. It outlines some pretty big shifts.
Yeah, it does. We're talking about the updates to Army Regulation 351. That's the big one for Army training and leader development.
The blueprint, basically.
It is. And like you said, these aren't just small changes. It feels more like a fundamental rethink of how they approach training.
Right. So our mission today is pretty clear. Pull out the key changes, understand what they signal about Army priorities. We've waded through the regs so you don't have to.
So first things first, the why. What's driving all this?
Good question. What's the core reason?
The Army's stated reason is clear: enhancing warfighting readiness and effectiveness, making sure soldiers and units can actually fight and win now and in the future.
Okay, fight and win today and tomorrow. That sounds standard, but what does it mean for training itself? They're not just doing the same old drills, are they?
No, definitely not. I think they recognize how fast warfare is changing. You know, new tech, different kinds of threats, different places they might operate.
So the regulation had to catch up.
Pretty much. This update seems like a direct response. It's about making the training relevant for the real challenges soldiers face. For listeners, this helps understand those bigger strategy debates.
Makes sense. Be ready for what's actually coming. Now, you said these aren't small tweaks. Just how big a shakeup are we talking about?
It's substantial. I mean, the physical size of the regulation itself tells a story. It went from over 250 pages way down to under 100.
Wow, okay, that's less than half. More than a 60% cut.
It's a serious trim.
Why cut it down so drastically? What's the thinking there?
The main goal seems to be cutting down on administrative burdens, what they call unnecessary distractions. Mm-hmm. The idea is to give commanders, especially at the small unit level, more breathing room to focus on the core mission, to training soldiers to fight.
Less time filling out forms, more time on the training ground.
Exactly. Less compliance, more competence, maybe. That seems to be the aim. You don't want your platoon leaders drowning in paperwork.
Right. So focusing on those critical skills, as they put it, what specific changes did they make to the actual training requirements? That's the meat of it, isn't it?
It really is. And this is where you see the focus sharpen. They cut the number of mandatory training tasks. It went from 24 down to just 17.
Okay, 24 down to 17 mandatory tasks. That's significant. What kinds of tasks are left? What's prioritized?
Well, the ones that are left are really zeroed in on the absolute essentials for warfighting, overall readiness, and lethality. That word keeps coming up.
Lethality, yeah, that's a blunt term. Leaves no doubt about the priority.
Not at all. It underscores the core function. Mm-hmm. So the remaining tasks are closely tied to DoD policies and those Army-specific things crucial for, combat readiness.
And what got cut or changed?
Interestingly, they specifically removed resilience training and structured self-development from the mandatory list.
Resilience and SSD out. That seems noteworthy.
It does. It might suggest a shift, perhaps prioritizing immediate combat skills over some of the, let's say, broader soldier development or well-being programs that were mandatory before. You do wonder about the long-term impact of that choice.
That leaves 7 tasks unaccounted for. From the original 24 down to 17. What happened to the others?
Good point. 6 of those tasks are now optional.
Optional, meaning commanders decide.
Exactly. Commanders get to choose if those 6 tasks fit their unit's specific mission or needs. And 1 task was just eliminated completely.
So decentralizing the decision-making for quite a chunk of the previous requirements.
Precisely. This move towards making things optional really highlights the flexibility aspect. Maybe reflects that needs vary a lot between, say, a logistics unit and an infantry company.
That definitely sounds like giving commanders more control. Can you expand on that, this increased flexibility?
Absolutely. The new reg explicitly grants commanders more leeway in setting up their training schedules. Things like the old restrictions on how long certain training could be or where it had to happen, those are gone.
So no more rigid blocks dictated from above for everything.
Less of that, yes. And they're also actively encouraging commanders to try different ways to deliver training. Innovation seems to be encouraged.
Like using simulators more, or different teaching methods.
Could be. Maybe streamlining reporting too. Think about, say, a company commander not having to spend days on a super detailed quarterly report, but maybe a more focused one. Frees up time.
Right. It sounds like less top-down prescription and more trust in leaders on the ground. tailoring it.
That's the feel of it. Empowering leaders at different echelons to figure out what works best for their specific context. Adaptability is key for modern conflicts, right?
It seems crucial. Now, does this AR350-1 update stand alone, or is it part of something bigger happening in the Army?
Oh, it definitely fits into a larger pattern. This is part of a much broader Army effort to prioritize readiness above almost everything else.
Consistent theme, then.
Very consistent. You hear it from leadership all the time. Strip away unnecessary tasks, reduce administrative burdens, anything that doesn't directly help soldiers prepare for combat.
Getting back to basics, in a way. Focused basics.
Focused basics is a good way to put it. It's about being ready for decisive action, for combat. It's not just cutting pages to cut pages. It's about rethinking what's truly essential for a fighting force today.
And does the regulation itself reflect this clarity, beyond just being shorter?
Yes, they've also reorganized parts of it, specifically the appendices.
Yep.
The aim there was to make it clearer and to better highlight those tasks directly linked to warfighting capabilities.
Easier to find what matters most.
Exactly, making the essential information more accessible, making sure it gets the focus.
It all seems to circle back to that core idea. Better preparation for actual missions. Effectiveness over box check.
That really is the underlying commitment here. The Army wants soldiers ready for operations, not bogged down by requirements that maybe don't add much value when deployed. A focus on what counts under pressure.
Okay, let's try and boil this down. If someone takes away one thing from our deep dive today on AR351, what should it be?
The main point is this. The Army is seriously streamlining its training roles. Why? To sharpen warfighting readiness. How? By cutting the reg size dramatically, focusing on fewer core combat skills, and giving commanders way more flexibility.
Reduce the admin, boost the combat prep.
That's the essence. It's about preparing soldiers for modern and future conflict, period.
A clearer, perhaps leaner, more focused approach to building that combat power. It paints a vivid picture. Okay, as we wrap up, here's a thought to leave folks with.
All right.
This major shift, focusing so intensely on these essential warfighting skills. How might that reshape future military operations? And maybe more personally for soldiers, what skills become even more critical in this streamlined, lethality-focused environment?
That's a really important question to ponder.
Yeah. What does essential warfighting skill truly mean today, and what might it mean tomorrow? Something to think about.
Absolutely. As the focus sharpens, understanding what those skills are and how they're best developed, that's going to be vital for anyone watching the future of defense.